Hello, my name is CJ. Here to watch Milwaukee Admirals take on the Manitoba Moose. Game 1, the AHL Calder Cup playoffs, and you are watching Post to Post.
Hey everyone, welcome to Post to Post. My name is Neil if you're new, and thank you so much for joining me today. The St. Louis Blues have eliminated the Minnesota Wild. Real quick, if you saw the intro at the beginning of the video, I apologize to the people who've sent some in recently. I totally forgot about them. I put them in a folder. I will be putting them in videos upcoming for the rest of the next couple of weeks, so you will see them there. If you guys are going to a playoff game and you want to film a similar recording of yourself, please do. The details on how to do that or where to send that is down below in the description. Would love to see you and would love to hear from you. But yeah, let's get back to the series. St. Louis and Minnesota. Wow. Out of all the series that were taking place, this is the one I would have predicted to go to Game 7. Of the 4 games last night that were elimination games, I would have put all my money on this one actually going to Game 7 versus the rest of them. I did make some predictions in yesterday's video. I said Boston would win, I said Tampa would win, I said St. Louis would win, and I said LA would win. So I got LA wrong, unfortunately, but I did go 75%, so I'm okay with that. I really felt St. Louis was going to dominate and take this one. I felt the life out of Minnesota. And looking at the statistics, looking at their play style, and looking at the play style of St. Louis, I just felt it was going to happen. And it did. I've got a couple of notes here, but I want to go back in time, so to speak, and just go very quickly through the games. Game 1, St. Louis won 4-0. Game 2, Minnesota won 6-2. Game 3, Minnesota won 5-1. Game 4, St. Louis won 5-2. Game 5, St. Louis won 5-2. Game 6, St. Louis won 5-1. So there's a bit of a trend there, and not just St. Louis scoring 5 goals in the last 3 games. I'm talking about no team, or I guess every team, was dominant at one point in this series. There was never a point where it was close near the end of the game. They never went to overtime. There were flaws that were very apparent on both teams in specific games. And I think the biggest flaw for Minnesota is something I called out in the series preview video, and it's not because I'm smart or I'm good at predicting or anything. It's because it's obvious. Minnesota special teams aren't good. St. Louis special teams are good. It's really as simple as that. I would even go as far to say that this series was completely determined by special teams. Let's look at some stats real quick from this series. It's the only stats I'm basically going to call out. St. Louis was 30.8% on the power play. They were 83.3% on the penalty kill. Minnesota was only 16.7% on the penalty kill, or on the power play rather, and 69.2% on the penalty kill. That is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And people say, when I make the prediction videos and the bracket videos, it doesn't matter about the regular season. This is the playoffs. And I'll call back to that again and say, that's wrong. That's factually wrong sometimes, because you have to look at the statistics. The statistics of special teams completely mimicked the special team statistics in the regular season for both these teams. So yeah, what happens in the regular season does impact what happens in the playoffs. Those can be overcome, but 9 times out of 10, they don't. They're not. So I'll go back and say it again. This series was essentially determined by special teams. Not only special teams, but that was a heavy portion. Minnesota was not responsible, and it killed them. It ended them. I got 2 more things to say. St. Louis transition and breakout, unbelievable. Like, they are so good at the transition game and the breakout game. It really stifled Minnesota. They had tremendous difficulty dealing with it. So that was, St. Louis, when they're on their game, look out. Look out, Colorado. We'll talk about that in the future. Bennington has the net now. I feel bad because I like Husso more than Bennington. I don't really like Bennington that much, but he's played well. He's got history. He has the net, and he will take the net going into the Colorado series, I think. But we'll talk on that a little bit in the future. I want to skip back to Minnesota just before I end this video, or before I give some final thoughts. Let's look at 2013 to 2022 for the Minnesota Wild, and their playoff performance specifically. And sorry, I'm looking at my notepad here. 2013, lost in the first round. 2014, lost in the second round. 2015, lost in the second round. 2016, lost in the first round. 2017, lost in the first round. 2018, lost in the first round. 2019, missed the playoffs. 2020, lost in the qualifying round because that was the weird COVID year. 2021, lost in the first round. 2022, lost in the first round. You see a trend there. The trend is that Minnesota can't get anything done in the playoffs, and it's incredibly frustrating. I'm not a huge Minnesota Wild fan. I like them. I'd like to see them have success. I don't dislike them in really any way. So I want to see them succeed in the playoffs. So even though I don't consider myself being a Minnesota Wild fan, I'm extremely frustrated. I can't even imagine how Minnesota Wild fans feel. Would you rather be a fan of the Minnesota Wild, who consistently make the playoffs, like so consistently, basically every single year except for 1 year, unless you want to, talk about the qualifying round, but consistently have been at the playoffs in a round against another team trying to move on, and consistently they have lost? Would you rather be a Minnesota Wild fan in that position and see your team constantly fail at the beginning of the playoffs and be eliminated? Or would you rather be a fan of a team, we'll say, I don't want to pick on Buffalo, but sorry, they're the easy one, or we'll say Arizona or Buffalo. Either of those two teams who have not made the playoffs in a very long time, and it just kind of are like a bubble dweller or a bottom dweller. There's always expected disappointment from both sides. Like, what team would... If you're a fan, a hockey fan, ignore Minnesota Wild fan, ignore Buffalo, Arizona fan. If you're just I'm talking to the general hockey fan here, what team would you rather cheer for? I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if... I'd almost rather choose Buffalo or Arizona, as crazy as that sounds, because I know that when the playoffs start, I can just enjoy hockey. Just a hockey fan, I can root for some underdogs. I can cheer for whoever I want. I'm not emotionally invested in any of the teams. My team's already out. But when I'm entering the playoffs every single year and my team's in it and they constantly lose in the first round or the second round, that's emotional trauma for me. And I'd like to avoid that. So I can't even imagine how the Minnesota Wild fans feel. I feel so bad for them. They don't deserve that. And the team is... Final thoughts, I'm worried about the Minnesota Wild for the next couple of years. They've got some really good players, but they're going to have difficulties when it comes to the cap. They've got Suter's contract and Parise's contract, which kicks up from 2 point something to 6.3, I think, against them on the cap. So that's 12. It ends up being like 12.7 million, I think, that's going to be against them in the cap for next season. That's not it. The following season, it kicks up to like 14 point something, and then the following season after that, it's 14 point something. So for the next 3 years, there's a significant little chunk of salary cap that's being taken from the Minnesota Wild, which is going to make it difficult for them to make trades and stuff. Not that they really are, they don't really spend to the ceiling, but still, it's still frustrating. Like, as a fan, you don't want to see that lurking there, and I don't necessarily blame them. I mean, what are you going to do? These contracts probably needed bought out. The players, I don't want to get into it. I've talked about it in the past, but I'm just saying, Minnesota is, I don't know the right way to word it. I have concerns. I see a lot of positivity in Minnesota, but in the same sense, I have a lot of questions for Minnesota, and I just want them to succeed. Like, I'm tired of them being consistently bad in the first, not necessarily bad, but just they just don't. They just can't push it. They can't push it to the conference finals. They can't barely push it to the second round. I want to see them go deep. Come on, Minnesota. So I'm disappointed that Minnesota lost. But I'm not disappointed that St. Louis won. Like I said, this is my series preview video. I was cheering for Minnesota, but I would also be happy if St. Louis won. I love watching St. Louis play. Like that's one thing about St. Louis. I like a lot of their individual players in their team, minus Bennington, but I love watching them play. I like the team, so I'm excited to see them move on to the second round. The more St. Louis that I get to watch, the better. So really looking forward to that next series. But I'd love to hear from you, Minnesota Wild fans and St. Louis fans. So Minnesota Wild fans watching, what do the Wild have to do in the next couple of seasons to remain competitive, but not only remain competitive, but push past that and go deep? Honestly, what did the Minnesota Wild have to do? Is it goaltending? Because I don't blame Fleury or Talbot, okay? It's not on them, in my opinion. Did they let in some soft goals? Absolutely. But what do they need to do to push it deep? And St. Louis fans, you're going into a very difficult series coming up. What do the St. Louis Blues need to do? Or do they need to do nothing? They don't need to change anything. The power play is rolling. The penalty kill's doing great. You've got a goalie in net with some experience and some swagger now. He's got his confidence back, possibly. Do the St. Louis Blues just kind of coast into this series and just don't change anything and just be who they are, remain, and keep their identity? I don't know. We'd love to hear from you. And general hockey fans, how'd you feel about this series? Was it one that you watched? If you did you enjoy it? What are your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I'll come at you later tonight, definitely for a jersey concept video, possibly for a prediction video for tonight's games. Not sure. It depends on how much time I have during my lunch break. But yeah, I'll talk to you tonight for sure, one way or the other. See you later. Adios.